You're joking, aren't you? It's the Teesside Chef. As promised, I will be showing you how to make this crazy school custard today, and I want to hear some of your school memories too, but more about that later on in the video. First of all, we will start with a vanilla pod, which will be spliced down the middle so the seeds can be scraped out before being introduced to whole milk. Now, I'm going in here with 750 millilitres of whole milk because I'm making 3 different flavours of custard today, and 1 vanilla pod will be sufficient for all of this because vanilla pods cost an absolute arm and a leg, but do make all the difference when making homemade custard. Now, this milky vanilla combination needs to be gently heated and occasionally agitated until hot but not boiling with the lid on in order to prevent a skin developing on top of the milk. And while those two are making sweet, sweet music together, we can prepare the eggs. I've brought 2 bowls in, and let's see if I can get the eggs in this shot as well. You want to crack your eggs, of course, on the flat work surface rather than the edge of the bowl, to avoid getting all eggshell shrapnel in your custard. I'm going to separate out the whites because we only need the yolks for this, and I find the easiest way to do this is just to break the egg into my big daft hand and allow the white to pass through my tickling sticks. After which I will put the yolks in a separate bowl, and I'll keep those whites for starching my shirts or something. And if you weren't paying attention, here it is again. Crack the egg on a flat surface, pass the white through, separate the yolk, and if you're feeling a little bit jaunty, you can do a little bit of to you, to me, to you, to me, before adding 25 grams of sugar to the 3 yolks, a teaspoon of cornstarch, just to give the custard a little bit of a creamier texture, and whisk all that together. I'll be making standard vanilla custard, mint custard, and pink custard today, and if you went to school in the UK, you may well remember eating these culinary delights, and I would love to hear about your school days, so be sure to share your school experiences below in the comments. Think of your memories like a little piece of history, forever preserved for posterity under a barely watched custard recipe video. Anyway, the milk's ready, so I'll take out the vanilla pod. I, of course, went to school in Middlesbrough, a provincial northern English town with a collapsing post-war economy where the school system seemed intent on producing human rubble, but enough of my idyllic school experience, because now I'm going to very gradually add 250 millilitres of the hot vanilla milk to my egg yolk mixture, whisking all the time in order to temper the eggs before cooking, and this will, of course, stop the eggs from scrambling when they go onto the direct heat, which is what is happening here. And this is the part that requires patience, because we're going to need to stir this constantly now on a low heat, paying particular attention to the edges of the pan, and as the heat slowly builds, the egg yolks, along with that touch of cornstarch, will slightly thicken the custard with hopefully no lumps. And after a while, when the custard coats the back of a spoon like this, we know it's done, and as I run my finger along the spoon, you can see it holding its shape there. And using food-specific peppermint extract like this one, you can easily make mint custard. It can be difficult to find. I bought this when I was recently in Canada, of all places. Lake Superior there. Beautiful. And I'll be sharing some Canadian recipes in the future, so subscribe if you want to see them. They will include this amazing waffle and chicken sandwich called the Little Old Dirty. But I digress because this is a custard video, so let's get some of the peppermint in there. It's very strong, so it must be used sparingly. If you can't get peppermint extract, you could use a mint tea bag or fresh mint for this. Either way, I would definitely encourage you to give this a go because eating it is like getting in a time machine and will bring back all of those repressed school memories better than therapy will. And of course, mint custard wouldn't be mint custard without the slightly radioactive green pigment, and I'm being very careful not to overdo it here. And as that custard begins to turn a day-glow Miami Vice green colour, I think it's a good chance for all of us to gather round the crack pipe. And of course, by crack pipe, I mean fireside, and share all of our school memories and how our adult lives were warped by a system that didn't give a shit about us. I'm not bitter, I'm just poorly educated and poorly equipped for modern life. Anywho, here comes our mint custard in now, and whoever came up with the idea for this is a genius, but I guess that man or woman's name is now lost to history, much like my GCSE results. Now my old school has been knocked down and replaced by expensive rabbit hutches. And you definitely want to cover this with cling film to stop a skin developing, and that was something the dinner ladies unfortunately never got around to doing, and I always like to think it was an inspired dinner lady that came up with pink custard, which I'm making now. 3 egg yolks again. I've cut the sugar to just 1 tablespoon or 15 grams this time. I've gone in with a teaspoon of cornstarch, and next I'm going to go in with a tablespoon of raspberry jam that I've removed the seeds from, although blancmange powder was often used instead. It's the same process as before. Whisk well, temper the eggs with the hot milk, mix it all back into the vanilla-y milk, and cook gently while stirring all the time and adding red food colouring this time to reach the desired effect. Dinner ladies always looked so old, didn't they? I do wonder if it was just that they looked old or whether it was the styling. Here's some homework for you. While we're on the school theme, do a Google image search for Golden Girls modern hair. It could very possibly blow your mind. You remember the Golden Girls, don't you? You know, sitcom about postmenopausal women, thank you for being a friend, etc. Anyway, never mind that. I am pouring my mint custard onto my school dinner's chocolate Wellington pudding. Link in the description. Mint custard is the absolute perfect foil for the warm, fudgy, chocolatey cake, but why not go on with pink custard too? Because we're adults now and we can do what we want without the fear of having our asses caned. And with that, I hope I didn't dredge up too many repressed memories with this video. I promise next time there'll be no delving into your past. See you then, eh? Ta-ra.